Hey guys, what is going on? Today we're going to be talking about who I think is getting these final NFL playoff spots for the 2021-2022 NFL season. So let's kick things off with the NFC because the NFC playoff picture is pretty simple at this point. There is one spot left in the NFC for a playoff team, and that spot is up for grabs between the 49ers and the Saints. So as of today, after week 17, heading into week 18, if the season ended, a week early like it did last season without a week 18, the 49ers would be in the playoffs at this point and the Saints would be out. But since we have a week 18 this season, the Saints do have a chance to make the playoff. And honestly, it seems like the Saints might actually have the easier road to the playoffs, even though they are currently on the outside looking in at that at that final playoff spot. So in week 18, the Saints play the Falcons and the 49ers play the Rams. The 49ers, all the 49ers have to do to make the playoffs is win and they're in. The Saints, they have to beat the Falcons and they also need the 49ers to lose to the Rams. So yes, the 49ers do control their own destiny, but it's a pretty tough ask to ask them to beat the Rams. It almost seems like the Saints have it easier. Even though they need two things to happen, it almost seems like those two things are more likely to happen than the 49ers winning their matchup with the Rams. But with all that being said, I'm going to go a little crazy here. I am going to pick the 49ers to get that final playoff spot in the NFC. I just trust them in a situation where they know we control our own destiny. It's win and we're in. And guess what? They're playing against a division rival. And we know in divisional games, anything could happen. Anything can happen in divisional games. It doesn't matter how bad your team is that season. I'm not saying the 49ers are a bad team. They have a winning record. They have a chance to make the playoffs. The Rams, yes, they have a great record, right? They have a great record. But recently, Stafford has been struggling, and they only beat the Ravens by 1 last week. So if there was an opportunity for the Rams to lose, even though they're, trying to win the division in week 18, if there was a time that the Rams could lose late in the season, I believe it would be a divisional game. And the 49ers are going to leave it all out on the field because they are fighting for a playoff spot. So with that being said, in the NFC, I think the 49ers are going to get that final playoff spot. I'm sorry, Saints fans. We don't even know who's going to play at quarterback for the 49ers yet this Sunday. Is it going to be Trey Lance or is Jimmy G going to be back? But honestly, I trust both those guys more than Taysom Hill. No offense, Saints fans. Just my personal opinion. Doesn't mean it's right, just my personal opinion. So now, let's move on to the AFC. And you got to focus right now. You got to focus. You got to look at me. You looking at me? You good? We're good? We're good? You ready? You got your thinking cap on? I got my thinking cap on because the AFC is where it can get crazy. This playoff picture could get so complicated. And the reason it could get so crazy is because of the Jaguars. Yes, I just said the Jaguars in a playoff video. So this is what we got going on in the AFC. The Colts are playing the Jaguars this weekend. And if the Colts beat the Jaguars, it's going to be a pretty simple playoff picture. If the Colts beat the Jaguars, the Colts are into the playoffs. And then the Sunday Night Football game, which is Chargers versus Raiders, is a win and get in situation. But if the Colts lose to the Jaguars, it's going to be just pandemonium in the AFC. So if the Colts do lose to the Jaguars somehow, the Ravens and Steelers will still have a chance to get into the playoffs. So if the Chargers and Raiders game, let's go back to the Sunday Night Football game first. If the Chargers and Raiders game ends in a tie after the Colts lose to the Jaguars, the Colts would not make the playoffs, and both the Raiders and Chargers would be in. Also, if the Colts do end up losing, the Raiders don't even have to win or tie versus the Chargers. The Raiders could get into the playoffs with a loss versus the Chargers if the Colts lose, like I said, and the Steelers lose. The Steelers would still be in the playoff race if the Colts lose and they get a win versus the Ravens. If that happens, the Steelers will be in the playoffs. A Colts loss and a win for the Steelers versus the Ravens means they are in the playoffs. The Ravens, speaking of them, they still have a tiny little sliver of playoff hope if the Colts do lose to the Jaguars, but their hope is so small, it's like microscopic. So for the Ravens to make the playoffs, They need to win their game versus the Steelers. They also need the Colts to lose to the Jaguars, like I said. They need the Chargers to lose to the Raiders, and they need the Dolphins to lose to the Patriots. So yes, the Ravens need a ton of things to happen, and one of the big things they need to happen is probably not going to happen. I feel like the Colts aren't going to lose to the Jaguars, but you never know. It's the NFL. It's been a crazy season. Also, by the way, if the Colts do lose to the Jaguars, they're not automatically eliminated from the playoffs. If they do lose, they could still make the playoffs. If the Raiders, Ravens, and Dolphins win, then the Colts would still be in the playoffs if they lost to the Jaguars. But honestly, do you still deserve to be in the playoffs if you lose to the Jaguars in Week 18 of the 2021 NFL season? I don't know. But with all that being said, the three most likely teams we're going to see in the playoff from the AFC or in these final three playoff spots are the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Colts. So I'm just going to go right ahead and say I think the Colts are going to be able to handle business versus Jaguars, and I'm going to go ahead and say they're going to get the 6th seed in the AFC. So yay, Colts, congrats on getting the 6th seed in my opinion. Then that brings us to our final game of the 2021 regular NFL season, and that is Sunday Night Football, Raiders versus Chargers, division rivalry. Win and you're in the playoffs, lose and you go home. This is if the Colts won. So this should be a fantastic game. This should just be an incredible game. And now I have to decide who's going to win, right? Now I have to say who's going to get the 7th seed in the AFC. And I have to go with the Chargers. Raiders fans, I'm sorry. Is it too late now to say sorry? I just trust Herbert in a game like this more than Carr. I feel like Herbert has the ability to put the team on his back more than Carr. We also know the Chargers' run defense has struggled throughout the season, but I feel like they are going to be able to play somewhat well versus this Raiders rushing offense. And you guys know, since before this season even started, the Chargers were, my team that I thought could make a real run. I thought they could be a much improved team this season that could make a real playoff run. So I got to stick with them at this point. It's too late now to just be like, haha, JK, I'm going to go with the Raiders, and I think the Chargers are going to lose and not get into the playoffs. I got to stick with the Chargers. So that's what I'm doing. And yeah, guys, so that's who I have making the 7th seed in the AFC. So that is who I think is going to get those final playoff spots in the AFC and that final playoff spot in the NFC. I'm curious to know who you guys think is going to just get into the playoffs in Week 18. Let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys watching so much. If you want to drop a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, guys, that's it. Peace.